All right, boys, welcome back to the Strength in Hands podcast. I'm very excited to be with you here today. Today we're talking about dating. This is going to be a really fun topic for you guys. Maybe not so much for me because I've got some things that I want to get off my chest, confess. I did not have the best dating experience when I was young, but I did start dating when I was 15, and then I got married when I was 21. So I've had quite a bit of, actually no, I was 20. I was 20. So I had like 5 years of dating and dating experience. And so I'm going to be talking about some of the tips and things that I've learned, as well as some of the things that I wish I really would have done better, so I can give you guys the leg up on dating. First things first, of course, we have to answer the question of the day, which is, do you believe in soulmates? Think that one over for a second. I don't believe in soulmates. I believe that if you get married, God has destined you to get married. I believe that, the person that you end up with is the right person, because God hates divorce, he says. I hate divorce, says the Lord. It's in the Old Testament. And so when you get married to that person, like, whether you have struggles or not, whether they're your soulmate, that is the person that you're supposed to end up with. But I think that you can make it work with many different people. I don't think that there's just one. And that's kind of the beauty of it, I think, is that you can work on your relationship, and it's never going to be perfect, but it's always going to be getting better if you both have the mind for it. So maybe you have a different opinion than me, but that's just what I think. So feel free to let me know if you think I'm wrong. So getting into dating, first things first, we have to look at what is dating for. So usually for the first 3 episodes of the podcast, I have brought us back to the biblical foundations of things that we're talking about. But in this case, there's not really an example of dating in the Bible that I know of in the way that we think of it today. Taking people out to dinner, going out to watch a movie, just spending time together before you're married. Ruth and Boaz, I guess, would be kind of an example. Ruth worked for Boaz. She worked in his field for at least a little while, just picking up the grains that his farmers would leave. But they weren't, as far as I know, looking for a romantic relationship. But she was around him. They knew each other. So that's kind of an example. But we're not really going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the principles of dating and what you really need to know about dating and the purpose of it. And the purpose of it is you're looking for your person that you're going to marry. It's all about marriage. Dating is all about marriage. You're looking for the person that you want to get married to. And so everything that you do while you're dating should be focused towards that. So the question is, what is dating for? It's for finding out about other people. It's finding out, okay, is this girl good for me? Is this girl going to benefit my relationship with Christ? Is she going to push me and stretch me in ways that maybe I haven't been stretched before or need to? And it's also finding out about yourself. Can I be pushed in this way? Can I be with a person who wants us to always be on time, no matter what? Or maybe they're always late and I want to be on time. Like, can I handle one of those two things? That's just an example. A lot of dating is finding out about your common interests and things that you like to do together. Like, do we actually enjoy spending time together? Because you don't really know whether you enjoy someone until you start spending more and more time with them. And so that's what dating's purpose is. You go out to eat and you find out, do we both like the same kind of food? Do we both like the same kind of movies? Do we both like the same kind of music? Do we like long walks in the park? Do we, those kinds of things. So ultimately, though, it's all about marriage. It's preparing you for being with a person forever, becoming one with that person. So it's a hefty weight to bear to date someone, or it can be. So a lot of people think that dating is like scary because it's such a it leads to something so big. Marriage is way bigger and more involved than dating, and so people put a lot of pressure on that, and they're like, I'm not even going to start dating until I know that this person is right for me, or like I'm just waiting for that person to come to me. I think that it's okay to spend time with people, just to find out who they are. I mean, that's what we do in life all the time. We meet new coworkers. We run into people at the grocery store. We make relationships. We forge these relationships, and we don't think twice about it. But when it comes to dating, we're just like so much in our head that it kind of throws us off. So it is a weighty thing that it leads to something bigger, but at the same time, you don't have to be so worried about it. So the next question that we have to tackle is, who should I date specifically? Like, this person in my school, this person that I work with, who am I going to date? The important thing to remember about dating is that it is the secondary relationship to your relationship with God. It just has to be. And if it's not, then you've got a problem. James 1:17 says that every good and perfect gift comes from the Father above. So how crazy would it be if God gives you this gift in this person and says, here, enjoy, and you decide, I'm going to make this person number one in my life. Meanwhile, God's up there and he's saying, hello, I gave this person to you. Are you going to make them your idol? Guys, it is so easy to make a spouse or a boyfriend or not a boyfriend for you guys, girlfriend, an idol. And I'm going to talk about that later when we talk about some of the traps that we get into when we're dating. But I just want to really lay that groundwork right now. So it sounds kind of weird, but on my ring, there's an inscription on the inside. My wife wrote, forever, my second, and we call each other my second. That's our little term for each other, because we understand that God is our first. He's our first priority. He's our first love. He is our ultimate relationship, and then each other are second. You have to have that in line. It's God first, then your spouse, then your family, then others. So it sounds kind of cruel almost that you have to say to someone, you're second best. But that's how it's got to work. If you have a relationship with Christ, that's how it has to be. Now, with dating, it's a little different because you're not married to this person. They are not already woven into your life. The two have not become one. So, again, you have to be careful with this. You cannot make this person so important in your life that they are even more important than God, or they're more important than your family. They can't be more important than your family to begin with. So just wanted to let you think on that and chew on that. So if I had to give advice on the specific person that you should date, it's the person who is attracted to you and that you're attracted to when you are closest to God. So when you are in lockstep with God and you are reading your word daily and you are pursuing the fruits of the Spirit and you are trying to listen and discern His voice, and you feel like you're in a good place, then you can look around and you can see, okay, this girl is running in the same direction that I am. This girl wants the same things that I do. And I'm attracted to her, and maybe she's attracted to me. I guess I might have to find out. That is the person that you should date, okay? It's not the person that you think is super hot. It's not the person that you has a good personality or a good body or any other trait that you can think of that might attract you. It's got to be the person who loves God just like you do. So some guys might be thinking, okay, well, I don't know if there are any girls who are attracted to me. I don't know if I can attract a girl. I just feel like I'm not dateable. I want to talk to you guys right now face to face because that was me in high school. I kind of thought that, eventually I would date someone, but I did not feel very liked. I had friends, but I didn't feel like one of the popular kids who always had, the cute girls around them. And I just kind of went through life and I was lonely. And I felt like, man, is there ever going to be somebody for me? And that's kind of crazy because there are people who have waited way longer than me to date and everything. But I did get lonely and I can't help it. But one of the brilliant and amazing things about being a man is that God has designed us to be the pursuers. And that is one of the most joyous things that I could share with you about this subject of dating. Men are supposed to be the ones who go after the girl. Guys, it's okay to pursue someone that you like. Even if you don't know if they like you back, even if it may crash and burn, it's okay. Because one of the amazing things about the relationships between women and men is that women really respond to men who are pursuing them. It flatters a girl for you to say, I like you. And so you have to get over that barrier of just letting the words come out of your mouth. I like you. I think you're attractive. I would like to date you. Let's do something together. So that is the amazing thing. You don't have to just sit there and wallow in your sorrow saying, nobody likes me. I'm never going to get a girlfriend. I don't know who would ever want to marry me. Just go after the person that you want. As long as they have already fulfilled those requirements of being godly and, being attractive to you, you've got to have an attraction to them as well. So just do that. Just be that pursuer. I wish that I had learned this lesson. When I first started dating, I'm going to get into my story now. I started dating when I was 15. Let's see, so that would be the summer after my freshman year is when I started dating. There was this girl who liked me, but I did not like her. I did not really think of her as dating material, but she was in my friend group. I knew her pretty well, and one day she told me she liked me. She texted me, actually, and I just whoa, a girl actually likes me? At that time, I was feeling that very lonely, very sad. I just want someone to hug, hold, and honestly just to kiss because I'd never kissed a girl. And so I was just I was the one who was flattered. And I was like, whoa, maybe I should try this dating thing. And it didn't turn out well. I didn't have the approval of anyone in my family. I told my mom about this girl and I was like, hey, what would you think about me starting to date? And she's like, well, I don't know. You might want to get to know her a little better. You might want to ask her some questions, bring her around. We got to meet this person. And I just went ahead and started dating and going over to her house, and it was kind of a mess, but that's how I started my first relationship. And immediately when I first started that relationship, I knew that this was not going to be the person. I felt trapped. As soon as I assented to the fact, yeah, we're going to start dating, I was just nope. I do not like any part of this. This is not what I want. This is not the person that I want. I convinced myself for 6 months to date this girl when I knew I didn't like her. And it was a horrible, horrible period in my life. And it was because I didn't pursue. It's because I was not the one who made the decision, I'm going to find the person who's right for me. And I do not want you guys to make that same mistake. It's easy to make. I had peer pressure from my friends. They were telling me, you guys should date, you'd be so good together. I felt lonely. I wanted someone, but it just wasn't right. And so I'm telling you guys, it is better to be patient and to look and use your eyes and use your strength to just fend off anyone who you know is not going to be right for you, and go after the one who is. So that period in my life, after I dated this girl and eventually we broke up, that was a really good time in my life. That was a really eye-opening experience because I realized, okay, I just made a huge mistake. I wasted a lot of time with this girl. I do not want to make that same mistake again. I've got to make sure that the next girl that I date, it's going to be a good relationship. So for a period of about, I think it was maybe a year and a half before I started dating again, I was looking around and I was seeing, okay, who do I really want? And when I finally laid eyes on my wife, who I had already known in my childhood, but I really started looking at her as a potential person to date, I was like, oh, that's what I want. I felt the butterflies. I felt the excitement of being around her. I couldn't stop thinking about her. And I knew that she was from a good family. I knew I just knew her character a little bit because she was best friends with my sister. She was in the same Christian dance company as I was. And so I just knew her, and I was like, oh, that's it. That's what I want. And so when we started dating, I knew very quickly. In fact, I think I even knew before we started dating, like, if we start dating, we're going to get married. And I told her that I wanted to marry her within 2 months. 2 months of us dating. I told her that I wanted her to marry her. And I don't recommend that necessarily, but I'm just telling you that it's true. I had a lot of family history to back me up on that and to know that it was probably going to be a good match. And there's just a lot of other factors. There was a lot of praying that went into it. Just trust me on that. You probably don't want to say that, but for me it worked out. And I'm not going to say that I didn't make mistakes. There were still times, I'm not going to lie, that there were still times that I felt like, wait a second, do I really like this person? Am I really attracted to her? Or is it just, is it just my flesh and my sexual temptation kicking in, and I just want to be with someone again, and I just want to touch and hold and kiss and do all these things. And that worried me for a long time. That actually was a problem for me all the way up until our marriage, until our wedding. I was like battling these thoughts, and it was kind of tortuous. And I think that it stemmed from that first relationship that I had where I was not the pursuer. And so I don't, like I said, want you to make that same mistake. Make sure that you know. Luckily, with hindsight, I know without a shadow of a doubt that my wife is always going to be the most beautiful woman in my life. She is going to be my best friend. And so the thing that really attracted me to her, though, of course, was her heart for the Lord. I knew her heart for the Lord because, like I said, she was in the same dance company as I was. We were in the same church. We went to the same youth program, all these things. And when I got to know her, when we started dating, we would read books together. We read Christian, this was further down the road, but we read Christian marriage and dating books. We went through the Proverbs together, and we just would talk about spiritual things, and she would just converse with me, and she loved it, and I loved it. And that's what really drew us together. I met her parents, they are amazing people, and so you have to understand that too, is that part of dating is being part of another person's family for a little while, right? Whether it's going to be permanent and you're going to get married and you're going to be part of that family, or you're just going to be around for a little while, finding out if the dating is going to lead to something more. But you have to realize that you're dating the family almost. And with my family, I have 9 siblings, so there's a ton of boyfriends and girlfriends coming in the house all the time. So you just got to realize that you need to be able to handle her family too. One of the saddest things when young guys start dating is they avoid the dad, especially, because they're worried about what they're going to think, and they're, I just want to have the girl. I don't want to have their whole family. That's not possible. That's not how it works. You have to be willing to accept all of her, and part of her, a big part of her, is the people that she grew up with, and you just have to accept that. I am not a shining example of this. I actually, I didn't even officially meet her dad before we started dating. I just texted her, said, "Hey, do you want to go out?" Again, that's a bad thing too. I texted her for our first date. I should have at least called her, if not see her in person and ask her. But I said, "Hey, do you want to go out to Olive Garden?" And so she said yes. We met each other. So I didn't even pick her up. You should pick her up. And I didn't meet her parents. So I want you to be better than I was. And do that. Make that effort, because that speaks volumes about your character when you are willing to meet the big bad dad and say, "Hey, I'm interested in your daughter. I think that she's a really cool person, and I just want to take her out on a date, see if we might be a good match." That speaks volumes. And when it comes time for marriage, you need to ask for a blessing. You need to ask for her hand from her father, because that is the right thing to do. She is under the headship of her father until she has a husband. But you need to ask that father, "Can I have that authority?" There is a beautiful description of husbandly authority in 1 Corinthians 11. It talks about the hierarchy of life and relationships. It says, "As Christ is the head of every man, so the man is the head of every woman." So when you are dating, you are not the head. You are just a guy who likes this girl. The father is the head of his wife and of his children. And so you have to ask for that permission. That is the biblical way to do things. What I don't want you guys to do is think that dating is all about the fun and the experience and the hugging and the kissing. You have got to be farther sighted than that. You have to be looking to the future, because it's true that the hugging and the kissing, while it's good and it remains good even into marriage, it does wane in its excitement unless you work at it. And so that is not the thing to fixate on when you are dating. And that's really hard, because like I said, that was one of the main things that I was excited about when I first started dating. I just wanted to kiss someone for the first time. But that stuff is not the biggest stuff. It is big stuff, and it needs to be there, but it's not the biggest stuff. So I want to get into some of the traps of dating. The first trap that I would say you need to watch out for is being too young, okay? There has got to be a certain level of maturity, and that is partially up to you to find out, am I mature enough? But it's also really wise to look at the people around you and say, "Hey, what do you think about me starting to date?" Okay? It would be greatly to your benefit to talk to your parents about this. I talked to my parents about it and then completely ignored their advice to my own detriment for 6 months. And it was horrible. So I don't want you guys to do that. I want you guys to be humble enough to talk to other people and say, do you think this is a good idea? And if they say no, listen to them. Some of you guys may not have great relationships with your parents, but your parents know you probably better than most anyone. And they're going to give better advice than the friends who are your same age. Okay? That's just the truth. They love you. Whether you feel like they do or not, they do. And if you say, hey, mom and dad, I'm really thinking about dating, and I want to know your advice. I want to know if you think I'm ready, and I want to know what you think about this person specifically. And if they love you, which I'm sure that they do, then they will give you real sound advice, and it'll give you a good connection with them. It'll give you something to talk about. It will connect you in a way that you've not been connected before, maybe. So don't avoid godly advice. Okay, that's number one. So don't be too young. Try to find out if you're mature enough, and don't avoid good advice. The third thing I want to say is when you do start dating, do not idolize your girlfriend. That is not healthy at all, because we talked about it. It's God first, then your family, then other people. Okay? They are not your spouse. You do not have to be at their beck and call. You do not have to answer every single text right when they send it. You do not have to send them flowers every single day. And if they're not happy about that, then it's your fault. That's not right. Guys, you have to understand that this person is not God. You do not serve them in the way you serve God. I have seen it done where people will idolize either their boyfriend or their girlfriend or their spouse. And the problem with that is that as soon as that person fails you, which they will, you're broken. You don't know what to do with yourself, because you're like, man, I really thought that we had this amazing relationship, and then they just did this thing, and I don't know how to handle it. And then you start getting in your own head. It's like, is this person right for me? Like, is this relationship as good as I thought it was? And you can kind of follow that bunny trail, and it will lead you to places that you don't want to go, because maybe that person is still great, but they just messed up, and you were idolizing them, and that's your fault. That's your fault, because you got to give them grace, and you got to say, you know what? That's okay, because God is still in control, and He's the one that I'm looking to anyway. I still love you. I still like you, and I still want to pursue this relationship. Another problem with idolizing a person is that they turn your eyes away from the Lord, and they become your everything, and then you become like they become like a parasite on you, and they can start to control you. They start to be that toxic relationship that people find themselves in, because if you don't answer their text right away, you're a bad boyfriend. If you don't bring me flowers every 2 weeks, then it means you don't like me. Blah, 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 blah. Guys, that's not how that works. You cannot idolize a person. You have to say, no, I still do like you. I just can't drive 2 hours every single day to see you. And that's okay. So there is a time where you need to set that person in their place in your mind. You don't have to say it to them, but you need to say, okay, they are second to God, and I'm not going to compromise my relationship with God by idolizing them. The last trap of dating that I have to talk about is sexual temptation, of course, right? Guys, sex is not wrong, and it's not wrong to desire to have that fulfillment eventually, okay? But as soon as you personalize it, and as soon as it becomes lust, which is looking at a person that you don't have any rights to. You don't have rights to think about them in a certain way. You don't have right to undress them in any way. That's lust. That's not love, that's lust. And so you need to be aware that that doesn't go away when you start dating, okay? Because, again, even as you're dating, you don't have rights to that person. You're not married. And so those things are not for you. You cannot take them to bed with you. You cannot You know what I mean, all right? I would say that kissing is about as far as it goes, all right? And if you are struggling with that, then you need help. You need to have someone around you who is older and wiser and more mature, who will say, you are going too far if you're doing this. So don't just take it from me. You go find your people who will guide you in the ways of the Lord, okay? But like I said, kissing is about as far as it goes. Sexual temptation does not get easier. In fact, it probably gets harder when you start dating, because now you actually do have access to this person. And whatever you do, whether you're holding hands, you're going to want to go farther than that. Whether you kiss each other on the cheek, you're going to start to want to go farther than that. And it's just going to build upon itself, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. The temptation will always be there. So my advice is, honestly, don't start dating until you are almost ready to propose. You have the finances and you have a plan for your life. You have a job set up. Because if you're not allowed to have the culminating factor of a marriage, then dating doesn't really do much. You get to know the person, but that temptation is there. And you're going to have to fight it constantly. And it's okay that desire should be there, but it's a tough fight. And so you have got to be aware of that. Don't just go into it thinking, oh, it's going to be better because I can hold hands and I can kiss now. That's not how it works. Last little section, I want to tell you some of the things that I wish I had done better when I started dating. I am not going to lie, I was not the best dater. And here is why. Is because I did not take my girlfriend, my now wife, out on enough dates. And it haunts us to this day because I still struggle with it sometimes. I don't like spending money. I don't really like planning things. And I don't feel like I'm super creative. And so it's hard for me to plan things anyway. But guys, it's so important that you actually plan real dates, because when you just have a person come over and hang out, the sexual temptation is a lot worse, because you've got couches and you've got beds and you've got rooms that you can go into and you can be alone. That's a problem. And so it's so helpful to get out of the house, do an activity together, laugh together, experience each other around other people, see how they react to certain situations and things that you would never have experienced if you didn't go out. That is number one. So, like I said, having a job is a super big benefit for dating, because you actually have money to spend and you can have an enjoyable time. Another thing that I messed up with dating is, like I said, having her over to my house too much. Not because of the temptation so much, but because we were just around my family so much. And it was like I still had family responsibilities and duties that I had to fulfill when she was there sometimes, and it really stressed me out and it stressed her out. So it's good to just get alone and just know that I like this person whether we're around other people or not. That's going to be a huge benefit to your dating. And then the last piece of advice that I have for you is be yourself. Be yourself when you're around them, and specifically, don't just change your answers to questions because you want to tell them what they want to hear. Like, do you want to go to this restaurant? Yeah, sure, that's fine with me. I don't like that restaurant. That's what I usually think to myself. Or do you want to watch this movie? It's like, no, I really don't want to. But for you, I will say yes. Guys, that's not super helpful either, because I have found in my own life that it is very tough for me to make decisions for myself now, because I did that a lot when I was younger. I would just go with everyone else's opinions and go with my wife's opinions. And you have got to be strong. You've got to make decisions for yourself, because eventually you are going to be the head. You're going to be the husband, and the husband's job is to lead the family, not to be led by his wife's suggestions. Okay, so make sure that you are building that into yourself right now, and you are saying, no, I'm sorry, I would rather go to this restaurant. And you can still you can still, work that out. Maybe you want to sacrifice a little bit and do what she wants today, but you can let her know, like, I'd rather do this, but I'll do this for you. And so that's a really healthy thing, and she should be able to do that for you. That's a sign that this person is humble and really cares about you because they are willing to bend for you. So, guys, that's really all the advice that I have about dating. If there's anything that I have missed or skimmed over, maybe we can do an episode part 2 of dating. And anyway, I hope that this has been impactful for you. I hope that you are feeling better about dating and more equipped. And guys, make sure that you send me suggestions on the next podcast, what you want that to be. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.